All right, so on behalf of Home and School, I'm here speaking on their behalf to no. there is evidence. There is evidence. Trust me. So the total cost is about $25,000. It's $17,000 in the actual equipment, and then about $7,000 to $8,000 in actual install. The company will install it. It has all the certifications for safety, playground equipment, and so forth. It is one piece of a bigger, kind of larger vision for our playground, which is the back page, the very last page. So you'll see what we call the space net. That's the largest piece that's going to ground our playground. And then you'll see some peripheral kind of playground equipment that will add to it in the years to come, possibly maybe even in the fall. So the idea is to revamp our equipment. The current equipment that we have now, kids don't really play on it. Some of the equipment's unsafe. I've actually don't allow students to play on it anymore. It is scheduled to get removed, the older equipment, later this month. And then the install, hopefully we'll get the space net installed by the end of the school year. So then the kids can play on it. So the bigger picture is obviously it's an investment in the community because we want community members, families to be able to use it on the weekends and after school and so forth. So your support is greatly appreciated. Any questions?
This looks like a lot of fun, but I think your problem is going to be that then kids are going to want more time at recess.
Absolutely. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but we won't get into that.
The ground itself is already prepared for this because the footprint is similar to whatever you're replacing.
Yeah, you got it. So if you take a look at I think it's
I saw the red circle.
Yep.
I assume that's what that meant.
Yep, red circle is the existing playground, all the equipment that's going to be removed. It's basically kind of like push-up bars, sit-up bars. The kids don't really use it that much. It's, I think, about 20 years old too, so it's been used. So it's got all the correct padding on it and stuff. Obviously, we're going to have to put more mulch in and so forth, but we budgeted that too. So we actually had a donor from a local family that's going to donate it. So
Very nice.
yeah.
Did you see the picture on the last page, Dr. Yarnell? It looks like you in the background. Right inside where the company recruited you.
It does
With his hand on
It
his head,
actually
looks like
Yep,
Stu.
yep. Sounds like some.
Intensive supervising the children.
I don't spend much time on the side of the playground.
You're welcome to. When we get this on, we can swing on the ropes together if you want.
So you're using wood chips for it?
Yeah, typically, I mean, that's what I would love to be able to get the cushion, actual material. The only issue with that is it does get a little swampy as far as when it rains, and especially in the springtime. So I don't know how well that material would hold up given time. So that's why it's nice to just have the mulch and then we renew the mulch every year.
Is there like, I guess there's a certain requirement for how many inches of mold
Yeah.
you have to have it on, so you...
Yep, yeah, we have it. They have it. They actually have guidelines with this play structure because it'll sit about 9 feet above the ground. So there's an actual, I think it's like 3 feet of mulch that it has to be. But kids can't reach the actual spear, the very tip top of it. So, but I'm sure they will manage. Probably, I'm sure they will.
Now you need them to shower.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not going to say that.
Okay. No
So.
permits regular?
No, I have, that's a good question. I do, we installed similar equipment, Compton. It's a great company. It's actually a lifetime warranty on the company. I reached out to Hilltown Township 4 years ago. I have a letter, if you need it, that says that we don't need permits when it comes to playground and so forth, as long as we follow the impervious ground. And we're not putting pavement down or anything like that, so.
Questions? You got anything?
Nice.
Any objections moving forward?
What's the timeline?
Timeline would be the old equipment, existing playground equipment right now is going to get ripped out probably not next week, but the week after. And then the install of the new playground equipment hopefully will be before the end of school. So we'll at least have 1 week to be able to, for the kids to be able to play on it and so forth, so.
It'd be like a teaser before the summer.
Yeah,
Here's
that's.
your equipment, have a nice summer.
Well, and the goal,
graders.
I know, well, and that's the reason
Yeah,
why we're
right.
doing this, because the fifth grade doesn't get an opportunity to play and they raise a lot of money, so. So, okay. Any other questions?
Thank you,
No,
Mr.
thank you.
Rose.
Awesome, okay, thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
All right, so next item on the agenda is the request to seek bids for the bus replacements 2019-2020.
Yes.
Mr. Geiger.
Hello, how is everyone this evening? Okay, for this coming school year, the 1920 school year that is, we're looking to replace 10 buses, vans, whatever again. This year we'll be able to go up to 10 with the budget of $850,000. We're looking to replace, as you can see on page 2 of the budget, 118 passenger plus lifts with full track seating in there so that we can remove everything if we really had to. We generally don't. We always have to leave a couple there for the teacher or something, or a couple of kids.
But that leaves you the ability to configure as you need.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
In fact, today we sent a minibus up to Crayola Factory. It's normally set up for 1 wheelchair. They needed it for 8 students and 2 wheelchairs, plus a 72 passenger bus went up along with it. So the mechanic first thing this morning tore out 2 seats. You know, they had to do is take a few bolts out and pull them up out of the track seating, put them aside, and tonight he put them back in after the bus came back, so it's ready to go as a 1 wheelchair bus again and more seating. So that's something that I've always done since I've been ordering buses. A lot of places only would buy them for 1 or 2 units, and then you're stuck with it. If you needed an extra wheelchair, you had to send an extra bus. This way, we actually have one that's 48 passenger bus, but we can take seats out and put 6 wheelchairs in if necessary. So it's really convenient, but all the minibuses that have wheelchair lifts on now have the track seating in it. Everything has that. So that one will be replacing a straight 30 passenger bus. We have an excess of those right now, but we're short on wheelchair buses. So this year we're going to get rid of one of those and buy a wheelchair bus to replace it. So we have a spare for that. So we were pushing our luck on wheelchairs this year. We're going to look to replace 6 72 passenger buses with 6 standard conventional buses. We this year are not going to put the integrated seats in a few of them in these because we have quite a few now that have them. Maybe next year, she has talked to me, we discussed this. We'll skip a year without them, next year put them in. It saves a couple $1,000s on these buses. But we also now are going to go for 2 additional 72 buses, passenger buses, but they're going to have the storage compartments underneath on both sides. That way sports, when they go lacrosse and all that, they can put all the gear under the bus, not in the aisle, and get a problem with the police arguing that we don't have enough exit, space, and the aisles are competed with all this equipment. And then we're going to go with CoStar for another 9 passenger van. We've started to be able to help the schools with vans, especially the high school with their sports and stuff. Dr. Bolton has had access to that for a couple of times, to taking people to conventions and things, and it's been nice that we've been able to supply them with a van and not have to tell them, well, you either got to take your own car or lease a van, So we have been able to do that with the newer vans since we've been going to the 9s instead of the little Dodge Caravans for 6. It's been working out real nice. But we do have some that are getting up in age and miles, so we are still going to replace one again this year. So the total cost of all the replacement of these 10, to purchase these 10 vehicles is estimated at the full budget this year, $850,000. That doesn't take into consideration any money we'll get with trades or sale of the buses if anyone buys them outright. We do have one vendor who likes to buy them outright, so depends, he may buy some this year. Again, he got a few last year. And if the vendors compete in their pricing and they do good trades like last year. We got $3,000 out of one of the vendors last year for those buses. Have a lot of miles, a lot of age. So we're hoping we get some good money back, and it will still be under budget then. I am replacing, let's see here, how's that go? There it is. We're going to replace 9 buses, 1 mini and 8 full-size, but the 10th bus is bus 27, which unfortunately was totaled in an accident at Guth Elementary earlier this year. So we do need to replace it, so we have a full fleet with the upcoming year, with having kindergarten being transported. We didn't want to cut back on the fleet, we wanted to keep it at the size that it was. So everything's going to be coming out of the 2019-20 budget. We did have $850,000 in there again, and unless it's cut, we plan to proceed on ordering these as soon as the board approves it later in June probably. When we're looking to, or July I guess it is, Jess will be back to give you the final numbers on what we received back in the bids. On the next page is the list of all the buses that we are going to be looking to trade. Let's see if I go back. Okay, as you can see, majority of them are either 2000 or 2001 vehicles. We have one that's a 2007. Yes, it's a lot newer of a bus, but it also is pushing 190,000 miles already. That's a minibus. The minibuses travel a lot. They go way down to Philadelphia, some of them, but that one is in need of replacement. So that's why we picked that one to be replaced. It's one of our last 2 diesel minibuses, so we have 1 more left for next year to replace, and then the entire minibus and vans will be entirely gasoline. So, and that's the trend in the market.
Which one's the last one? Which one?
If you look, it's the bus 71.
Oh, 71.
That's a 2007. It's a 28 passenger, and it's almost right now. It's at 186 when I did this report, so it's pushing a little bit more than that now. But the industry is switching over to gasoline for minis. They're a lot easier to work on, they're cheaper to operate, you don't have to plug them in the winter and worry about the diesel gelling up and everything as they do in the bigger ones sometimes, but here we don't seem to have that problem because we are able to plug all of our buses in at night, the big ones during the winter months. So that's what I have. We're looking to go to bid after it goes to the board and the board approves it. We'll finalize the bid package with Jackie. Carl and I are working on the final descriptions of what we're looking for from the vendors, and then we're hoping to get it out there for 3 weeks of bidding and open bids the mid-June and come back to the board and the facilities in July for final approvals. Any questions?
When are they going to be delivered, if indeed that you meet that time?
At this rate, we'll have them for Christmas again. It'll be your Christmas present next year. I've talked to a lot of these vendors at the last couple conventions, and they said we're one of the smarter ones because we go out to bid when they're making the deliveries for this year for everyone else and building them and getting them ready. So when they do that, then there's a lot less orders, a lot better quality they feel buses because you don't have this push to get them in. So, and they can cut the time that it takes to manufacture these buses because usually it's 6 to 8 months, we're getting them 4 to 5 months because there's less orders out in the market when we go to bid. It's been working out real well for us, and I've been very pleased with the quality that we've been getting from the vendors.
Mr. Geiger, I just want to thank you
Yes.
for your commitment to keeping care of the fleet. I know that you presented this back in the fall, just in
Yes.
terms of the age of the fleet continues to go down, and that we don't have buses that are on their last legs and forced to kind of piecemeal them together, and that really is because of your forethought and the board's approval of
Yes.
this continual fund to be able to keep our fleet on top of that. So I know that it's not an obvious thing that happens in the district, but we really do appreciate it in terms of your care for
And
that.
a lot of that goes to Carl and the other mechanics because they do a tremendous job in maintaining the fleet. They really do. When I got here, it was an ugly looking fleet, but it was a well-maintained fleet. It was because of the years that they were on the road, the miles, and some of the quality of the paint jobs that received from International. There was a 2-year span where they just didn't hold up, and that's what was peeling off the finish and stuff. It really made them look ugly. But, you know, we're pleased to be able to say now that they're using Pennridge buses and we're taking them to districts outside of the area and they're seeing a nice bus. We have a few more to get rid of, but these here, getting these out of here this time will really make the fleet look a lot nicer going down the road.
Do they come in green?
Yes, but you can only use those for a special activity bus.
Just saying.
You can have any color you want if it's only for special activities. But otherwise, it has to be the ugly school bus yellow with the black lines.
What about that white
Nice try,
ceiling I
Dr.
see?
That's allowed. We are allowed to put that on there. It saves on the heat because the yellow tends to heat the bus up more. It's a couple $100 more, but we do put the white roof on our buses for that sake, especially the air-conditioned mini buses. It really does help them. We also go with the tinted windows, which helps too. Clear glass on the sides, it just draws that heat into them, just like in some cars. You have the tinted windows in your car, it helps you. You don't have them, it gets like an oven.
Yeah.
So it's one way you can save on a little bit of pain for those students during the summer.
Yeah, no, I didn't know we had it, I'd seen it
Yeah,
on
there's
other
quite a few of
fleets.
our buses that do have the white
Okay.
roofs on now. All the minis, I think, have them on, and there's a large number of the large buses now that do also. Plus, if the state ever requires you to put the numbers of the bus on the roof, it'll help in them being able to identify the bus. But right now, they don't identify it. Some districts do put their bus number on the roof, but then they have to be these huge numbers up there so they can be seen. But that is a thing that's been talked about, and this way you're prepared to do it. You don't have to paint bus roofs to do it.
So, Mr. Geiger, thank you.
You're welcome.
And please pass along our sincere appreciation to the staff who
I will.
maintain these buses.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
And congratulations on your retirement again, right?
Thank you.
We'll keep
28
saying it
days.
because eventually it'll be your last meeting,
Who's
right?
counting?
Hey, Sean wants to know. It's 28 days, Sean.
28 days.
Debbie, we're sorry he's retired.
We'll be busy, I
We
know.
feel
We
for
will
you.
be. She'll keep me busy, I'm sure.
Okay, so that brings us to the tail end of the facilities agenda. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none?
Oh, I think she has her hand up.
Yeah, it's such a minor point,
Okay,
but
thank you. You're coming up anyway.
It was hidden by the camera.
I don't like to see myself. Sue Furlong, West Rock Hill Township. I wouldn't buy the 2 buses with the luggage. Those are incremental buses. I would just take one of the 6 that are replacements, put luggage compartments underneath them. That's going to be a little extra, but you're saving $180,000 by not buying 2 incremental buses. He said there are extra buses, and I would just take 2 of my replacement buses and put the luggage under the bottom of it. And I don't think it's going to cost you that much extra during the day to run them. And I would not buy 2 extra buses.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, with that, the next Facilities Committee meeting is scheduled for June 11. And with that, we'll close the facilities.